Hello, hi, what's up? It's me, Karen, your favorite booktuber, and I want to talk about my 2024 reading. Sorry, wrong year. I want to talk about my 2025 reading resolutions and goals. Um, I do think that this video, it behooves us to look back at whatever I said last year, and in many regards, I don't really want to because it's in the past. Let's forget about her. She was a different version of me. But I did quickly look through what some of those resolutions I had set for the year of 2024. One of them was to read 156 books. I did not do that. Read 6 poetry collections and a poem a day. I did not read 6 poetry collections. I only read 2, but I did manage for the most part to do a poem a day, and I think I'll continue with that. I don't know though. I will continue with that, but I do want to. I think what we can say is that in 2025, I want to go deeper and to enrich my reading. And there is a way in which, though I establish these goals, I recognize that my reading life takes on a life of its own and I can't really stop it. But I do want to put a few safeguards in place, I guess you could say. I'm kind of just like spitballing on the spot as we go about this. More of my resolutions for 2024 was to read 6 art books. I think I only managed 1. I did not properly count this. I'm just going off a whim. The art book that I remember is I read a biography on Lucian Freud. Then to read 6 fashion books, I read Chiffon Trenches, which was André Talley's memoir, and then I also read a book about pockets. The main thing that I want to do is in 2025, one of them, I'm mentioning this here because I need accountability. I want to devote more time to my newsletter. I know I've mentioned it in a few videos now. I mentioned my newsletter, that is, but I want to do minimum 24 newsletters in 2025. So please hold me accountable. The newsletter is a fun space for me to just be, to stretch my abilities to communicate. I find it to be really fun and creative, but at times a little draining and I overthink it a bit. But I just want to develop that space and devote more time to it because I think it's a really engaging way for me to write and think. So that's something I want to do. It would be great if I could surpass the amount of books that I read. In 2024, I read 125. You know, I would be happy if I hit that number or did more than that. I want to read all of Joan Didion's novels. I want to read more Woolf and Nabokov. I've also decided that I'm going to read Edith Wharton with alongside Alyssa's year-long project of her reading Edith Wharton's work, which I think will be a really exciting way to, 1, read more Edith Wharton, which I've never read any of her work beforehand, but 2, like have a sense of community. I will continue with International Booker and maybe Booker, but yeah, we'll see. And I do know that this is once again a really sporadic video. I know in the past I've spoken about a desire to do a read around the world challenge, and I actually don't have that desire this year. And I think part of that is because what I did last year is when I would go on a trip, I would plan a lot of reading around that country, or even after I'd been to that trip, I would like pick up books from that country and like really contemplate my trip through the lens of whatever the fiction or nonfiction that I was picking up. And I found that to be really useful. And I think that maybe a read around the world challenge will be something I'll come back to later on, but that's not a priority. I know that it was in the last 2 years I mentioned it and I didn't do anything on it. So that's good. When I mentioned reading Joan Didion, Woolf, and Nabokov, the way that I'm going to go about that is I actually want to be a little bit more strict with my reading in the regards that I have a schedule. I made a schedule, a loose schedule, because I'm okay if things like shift around, but I do think that I mentioned a desire to read Woolf and Nabokov and Joan Didion probably last year, and I didn't make that much headway. Like, yes, I read 2 biographies on Joan Didion. I read her debut novel, and I also read one of her nonfiction works as well. But I just like want to, and the Didion Babbitts, which wasn't that great. But I want to like actually follow through on some of my reading aspirations. So I've made a schedule for the first 6 months of the year. We'll see how that goes. I do think that there's ways in which like maybe a book that I slotted in for June, I can move that up, but that's something I want to do. And then the other thing that I really want to do is, as we know, I've become a big fan of the McDonnell editions, and I've acquired all of the ones that have been published so far. Like, that's something I set about doing in the month of December, and I want to read all of the ones that I have before the end of the year. And it's just something that I enjoy what they're publishing, or it's stretching me. It's stretching me intellectually to think about literature and the novel form when I read those books. So that's a commitment that I have. I think those are my overall reading plans. But I did mention those are my overall reading goals. And it's a short video. There's not really that much to say. I would love to hear from you if you have any reading goals. I just think for me, I want to be a little bit more intentional with my reading, and I think it would be worthwhile if I like check in with myself every quarter maybe, and just make sure that I'm following through on what I want to do, because sometimes I think it can be really exciting to read the book that everyone else is talking about and get involved in that conversation, but I don't know if that always fulfills me. So just be more intentional is my desire for my reading, and this started in the year. But please let me know what are your plans, what are the vibes, what's happening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.